for our audience, right? Just if there's anything you could take from this particular session is stick to one thing and stick
No.
to
Wait. Don't stick to one thing.
well
I don't want to drive that point home. No, not sticking to one thing. I think
I was just gonna say stick to one thing and make sure you see it through. That's what I was gonna say.
Yes.
Don't start something and just
yes.
yeah.
Stick to it. Make sure you see your vision through. And you kind of give yourself the room, the leg, the faith.
Man, I felt like I was in class right there. I was like, okay, I'm so sorry. Can I just finish my...
I want to ask you, what do you think has been your biggest achievement so far in your career?
Well, I would think thus far, my biggest achievement has been, I recently had a show air on HBO, which is a big deal for us actors.
Yo, welcome to our next session of the United Podcast Show.
Welcome.
Tonight, Ray, and I'm so happy about tonight's session. You're going to have a very interesting guest. But before we get into that, let's go through our normal procedure and introduce the panel. Let me start off with my brother, Charlie T. Charlie, say something to the people.
Yo, welcome. Man, I want to say thank you. I'm just like I said, I'm always ecstatic just to be happy to be on the show with my brothers, and now we got a special guest. Let's kick this.
Thank you. Next, I'll take it to my brother Eddie. Eddie, please talk to the people. We call him our chef.
Right. Yes, thank you, brother Ray. Before I say something, I want to give special thanks to the subscribers and our audience out there. You guys have been very supportive, and if it wasn't for you guys, there wouldn't be us. But tonight is going to be an extremely special night because we have a very strong person on our show. And I just can't wait to get started. So I don't want to take too much time because that means that we're taking away from our guest. And we don't want to do that because she has so much to say and so much knowledge to offer. Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you for that intro. And next, my man, Manny Fresh. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Back to you, Ray. That's how I don't want to take too much. No. Guys, I'm so happy to be here. So ecstatic. Thank you so much. Like Eddie said, thanks to the subscribers and having our back. Tonight's going to be fire. We have a beautiful special guest on, and Ray, I'll let you talk, man.
Yes. So as you can all pick up, there's this energy because we're all so excited to have this person on our show. So I'll do a little bit of an introduction on her accolades and where she's coming from. So to know this guest is to kind of know two virtues, right? Perseverance and hardworking, right? And she has demonstrated that through some of the toughest times that we're facing right now, right? Had to make difficult decisions, overcome some challenges through this whole pandemic, right? She has been able to continuously support her business, and not only just her business, but also excel in another passion of hers, which is also acting, right? So, knowing her, we've known her for quite some time, and she's become a very, very dear friend. And without further ado, I want all my brothers, while I introduce her, to give her a nice, warm welcome to our friend, Elizabeth Ramos.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
So honored.
So Elizabeth, if you could just give us a brief look into your life, because don't kill it. We have a lot of questions. Okay.
No, absolutely. So my name is Elizabeth Ramos. That's my professional name. I am a business owner. I'm an event planner. So I am a business owner in the MICE industry, and MICE stands for Meetings, Incentives, Conferences, and Events. So that's the industry that I hold most of my contracts in. So I've been in this business for it's going on 14 years. I've been a business owner for, this will be my 4th year in business. While I run ERPR networking, Meeting and Events. That's the name of my company. I am also a working actress. I say that with great pride because I have some shows out now. And we all have passions, but once we're working towards them and working for them and getting paid, that's kind of the other side of that mountain that we all want to get to. So I say that with great honor. And thank you for having me. Great introduction.
Wow.
It's an honor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Honor.
Thank you.
Once
Yes.
again.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So we'll spend the next 30 to 45 minutes with Elizabeth. We're going to go through a set of questions that we're going to be basically just listening to this fabulous person right here and everything that she's achieved, right? So we'll introduce her to our audience, and to our audience tonight, if there's anything that we're going to provide as resources or tools, we're going to put that in our description and comments, and you can also look into them, and if you have your comments, just put it in there. Subscribe. Make sure that you have the notification turned on so that you'll be alerted of any new or the next upcoming shows. So without further ado, let's get into understanding who Elizabeth Ramos is. And now we'll start it off with my first question, Elizabeth. So my first question to you is this: what drove you to start your own company, and what were some of the initial challenges you were met with?
Yeah. So first I have to thank you. So thank you very much for even having me on the United Podcast Show. I'm very flattered to be here. It's funny when I hear you speak about my accolades, I kind of cringe, right? Because we rarely take the time out to congratulate ourselves for, how far we've come or simply where we are now. So I hear you say that, I'm like, oh, I have so much more to do and so much more to go. But everyone that's listening, including, the team of the United Podcast Show, I think we should all just kind of, take the time out, especially amongst what we're going through in the country, to just kind of pat ourselves in the back, surviving the
Absolutely.
first nine months that this year has flown by, but surviving the first 9 months. Of course, keeping into account my heart goes out to anyone that has lost someone. But if you survived and you're still here and you're working and you're reinventing yourself, transforming your life, pat yourself on the back, because we all need to do that, right? We rarely,
That's right.
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yourself. So pretty much, as I mentioned, I started my business 4 years ago, and we all have like these varying stories to how we found our passions, right? So for me, it wasn't kind of that easy. I was at the breaking point in my career. And when I say that, I mean, I was working a corporate job about 4 years ago, in the midst of, I've had a couple of hiatuses throughout my corporate career, and I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. But I think what stopped me earlier on in my career was I never had the faith that I had in myself or have in myself later on in life. But I never had the faith, and it always was a good dream, but I was like entrepreneurship. I wanted the stability and the security of a job, which is what most of us want, right?
Right.
So I came to the point in corporate America that I really factored in how much time I spent, in my working life, and how much happiness that equated to. So in the midst of me having passions and, wanting to live my dreams, I think what really kind of pushed me up against the wall and made me make a decision about the next 5 years of my life was, really being unhappy in my current and then what is my current circumstance. I was fortunate enough to work in a corporate environment that I loved very much, the people that I worked with and for, but I didn't necessarily enjoy the corporate environment, right? Being in a localized area for 9, 8, 10 hours a day, because we always work harder than usually what the company expects from us. So there were pieces of it that I loved very much, and there were many other pieces that I did not love so much. So I factored, how long am I going to be in an opportunity where I sit at a desk and I ask myself, why are you here? This can't be it. There has to be more. Before I made that decision, because it sounds so much easier once it's already done. But when you're in the midst of trying to decide, can I do this? Can I start an entrepreneurship? Can I go off on my own? Will I be successful? It's far from easy, right? So I guess we hear all these success stories and people are like, oh, she did it. But getting to that idea and getting to the faith in yourself that you think, okay, I'm definitely going to try this. It takes a lot, right? So I'm not negating the fact that it wasn't an easy start, but it's
the grind that people don't see behind.
Yeah, and all the logistics and
yeah, exactly. So 4 years ago, I finally decided, I was having some tension in my corporate environment. And of course, I totally take accountability and responsibility because I simply wasn't happy there. And so we as human beings, we like to point the finger and say, oh, the organization, oh, this office. But usually it's us, we're just not simply happy where we are. So instead of torturing everyone around me, I decided to go off on my own. And some of the challenges when I first started, I run large scale events, right? So the attendee count in some of my events are 20,000, 50,000. A lot of people, when they think event planner, they think I throw parties, and I can and do throw parties, but it's a lot more intense than just throwing a party. Most of my work is in convention centers, stadiums, and various venues around the country and some international. But for the most part, I guess my initial the most difficult part of starting my entrepreneurship was finding the right clients, right? Or finding any clients at that. So initially, it was kind of a labor of love. I reached out to all of the actual clients I worked for, and I reached out and said, listen, I'm off on my own. I just started a company. This is what we do. This is my website. And I had to kind of let my reputation in this business speak for itself. The first year it was slow. I mean, I have to admit it was slow. I had the first year about 4 contracts the first year. So I started my business kind of halfway through the year. If we're speaking financial quarters, it was like Q2. So I started Q2 and I was in about 4 contracts. So I didn't close the year with what I was expected to make in my corporate opportunity, but I came really close. And then rightfully so, the next year, I actually equaled exactly what I would have been making in my corporate contract with a lot of hard work. So without going too further into it, I guess my first obstacle was finding the right clientele or finding any clientele.
But so it was like a leap of faith, right, Elizabeth?
Right.
Definitely a leap of faith. Like I said, it sounds great now, but it was very intimidating in the beginning. I had a bit of an advantage, and I would say, I have an advantage because certain people take different chances in life depending on when you're called to take that chance, right? So I wasn't at the mercy of dealing with children, that I have to make sure that I support children. So I was a little more free wielding in my possibilities and kind of my ideas. But nonetheless, I think, we all make excuses for ourselves, no matter what you have in the midst of your life or in the midst of, what's going on. We're all really busy people just in life, period. There's always a way to make it happen if you are determined, you believe in yourself,
really agree.
You got some hustle because you need hustle.
So
Wow.
I have this big smile only because the next person who's going to ask this question is fully on board with your mindset, right? So, I mean, it's a great segue, but I was, to be honest, I was looking at Manny all this time and you could see his grin and he was just basically nodding because everything that you said
resonates with me.
Resonates very, very strongly with Manny. So Manny,
yeah, man.
Let me pass the mic to you. So you go ahead
brother.
and.
Thank you, man. Yeah, and I'm giggling like a 5-year-old because everything that Liz is saying, or Elizabeth, excuse me, is saying definitely resonates with me. First of all, let me just say I commend you for taking that leap. I myself, I'm in the edge, but I haven't taken it, and I respect and understand how much it takes to do it.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's a lot of times we make up these excuses. I'm not ready, this and that. Guys, this is a living example. Elizabeth is someone that I look up to, and I really respect everything that you've shared so far. That is an amazing story, Elizabeth.
Indeed.
So Manny, if I could just interrupt you, I don't think I was extremely clear during my first question. So basically,
Please.
I feel my personal opinion is when you're ready to make that kind of decision in your life, either you come from a place of fear or you come from a place of being sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? So, I mean, I know sometimes we want it to sound better than that. We want it like to come from the sky and we want to dream and then the door opens and you walk on into your next career. But it doesn't usually work like that. So really,
that reality.
The reality hits you. And I was at a place that I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I remember I am being very transparent now. And I used to sit in front of my desk after I worked very hard. I mean, I'm very passionate about what I do, no matter what it is. But I used to sit at my desk and think, I'm bored. I know. I mean, I know it's crazy to say because I'm in a great, corporate office. And I mean, I was making an okay salary, depending on who you ask. I was making an okay salary, but I remember thinking, I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And then while I was working at my corporate opportunity, I still ran around and tried to be, independent. I didn't know how that would shape up as of yet, but I never just allowed my 40-hour work week to dictate my life. So I still, made sure that I was, I included myself in continuing educational classes. I lived in acting studios and acting theaters for years. I remember, now that I'm not there anymore, it doesn't matter. But when I was in corporate America, I used to run off to my auditions while I was working. And sometimes I would come back with makeup and I didn't leave with makeup. And the people in the office were like, you in the bathroom, like putting on makeup? And I was like, no, just, reinventing myself. But I don't want to push the rhetoric of not giving whatever opportunity you have now your 100%, right? So attention. I think you don't want to pigeonhole yourself, but you want to make sure that whatever opportunity we have now, you want to give it 100%. But while you're giving that opportunity 100%, because we all know it's a 40-hour work week and you can get a lot done in 40 hours, you have to kind of make pockets for your vision, right? If that makes sense. So while you're at work or after work or in the morning, you have to give yourself time to, establish whatever you want to do. So you have to establish the actual vision and then you have to live into it somehow. And I know that sounds kind of lofty and you have to live into your, idea, but, you have to see yourself doing something different that you're not accustomed to. If you don't see the vision for yourself, you can't sell it to anyone else. And it's kind of hard for you to hold on to it yourself, if that makes sense. So
you were pushing yourself to be uncomfortable. And this is
you have to.
Right.
I'm stealing Manny's terms.
Yeah. No, that means we're in tune, brother. Wow.
What's funny about that is that life is uncomfortable. And a lot of us, sometimes we are in opportunities that we are uncomfortable and very unhappy. But instead of pushing ourselves to something different, change is very intimidating and change is very scary. I like to, consider myself a person that lives on the edge, right? So I'm always trying to take a chance and doing something new. But even, over here, there's, I suffered through, some fearful times when I'm venturing into another, aspect of my entrepreneurship or in acting. You have to give the director what they need and what they want. So, life is scary in and of itself. So you might as well follow the fear towards what you want to do and what you're passionate about, rather than the opposite side of that coin.
And fear is a big word, especially on this show. A little plug for our show. What is Fear was the #1 most watched episode.
Makes sense.
For us. And we have part 2 coming, by the way. So we're going to touch base on that. But anyway, back to Elizabeth. Fear. What is fear? False evidence appearing real, people. The biggest regret in life is reaching an age where you look back and you say, hey, I didn't live. I didn't give it my all. That's really, really a bad place to be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just look at this young lady. She's everything she's done so far. Like she says, it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been a Hollywood movie. It's not a show. It's not pretty. It's not. Just do it, guys. All right. And at some point, you write your book and live your story. But anyway, let's get back on track. Elizabeth, I'm sorry. I get too comfortable. I want to ask you, what do you think has been your biggest achievement so far in your career?
Well, I would think thus far, my biggest achievement has been, I recently had a show air on HPO, which is a big deal for us actors. So in the midst of being so passionate about my entrepreneurship and running a successful event planning company, you know, something that just, you know, lives in my heart is acting and the entertainment world. I find it very exciting. You know, you get to push different buttons on who you are and what your motives are and why you do what you do. It's never acting, it's just being. I don't want to get too theatrical, but you're never acting, you're always being, right? So you have to be that person. So most recently, while I was running my event planning business, I was still very active in my acting. And now I have more time to do both. Without the overwhelming responsibility of I owe an organization 40 hours of my time. So basically all my time is my time, which is pretty cool. And I earned that through faith, a lot of hard work, and a lot of hustle. So I guess my biggest achievement to date would be my HBO special. I was on High Maintenance. I was the lead on a show called High Maintenance, episode 6, season 4.
I got to see that. That was awesome. I got to see
that.
that.
That was very cool.
Check it out, guys. Check it out.
So I guess so. Just to piggyback on that question, last year was a really formidable year for me because last year I really was able to see everything I put in motion come to actual fruition. Right? So that was last year. So 2020 was exciting. I had, I finished off the year very successfully. I picked up 4 new clients, right? So usually my shows are really large shows. So when you have a show for 50,000, the odds were that show would come back the next year in a different city with a different concept and format. So last year I picked up 4 additional clients. Everything was working really, really well. My event planning was just kind of working on its own. All I had to do was kind of show up and dole out some rules and regulations. And then on the back end, the acting was going really well for me. Me and my manager were like just booking shows left and right. So it was great. And then this year COVID hit, right? So, you know, that's a whole nother conversation, but that just goes to show you, even when you're flying high, life is going to happen to the best of us, even when you're flying high.
Yeah.
You know? And then I think how you react to those changes is what really makes up a successful life. And just to go a little into depth about what you said about kind of being at the last leg of your life and thinking I coulda, shoulda, woulda. For me, that's like the biggest fear I can ever have, right? So I developed this many years ago. I'm an avid reader, and there are 3 life-changing books that I will recommend to everyone when we get into that.
Let's hear them. Come on, okay. I want to hear.
You want to hear them now?
Yes, please.
So these are only 3. There's so many. But these are 3. So my top 3, and when I say life-changing books, these are books that will make you question your existence as you know it.
Right.
So my first is Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsch. It's a great book. And I know the title can be maybe off-putting for some, but it's less about a religious conversation with God and more about a metaphysical relationship with whatever you know to be God, right? And I know that sounds a little lofty, but it's a fantastic book that is a life-changing book for many of the people that I know that have read it, and it changed my life in many ways. Another one is The Power of the Subconscious Mind.
Wow.
That's a book written by Dr. Murphy many years ago. It's actually The Power of the Subconscious Mind is a very old book, but it's one of those bestsellers that, you know, no matter the times that we are living within, the book it makes sense. It doesn't matter the era or the time, the book is universal. And it's just The Power of the Subconscious Mind. It speaks just about that, the subconscious mind, and why we, you know, as human beings, we are more robotic than anything else. I'm big on the whole metaphysical world, but I won't get into that too much. But we do a lot of things off of habit and off of conditioning of what we already know to be true, what we've already experienced. Especially as we get older, we tend not to hit some of those more interesting areas in our lives and say, you know, let me take a chance, you know, let me try something new. Usually say, no, let me not take a chance. Let me stay safe. This is working for me. And sometimes that is not where your happiness lies, in taking a risk taking risks and taking chances, that's where your happiness lies. But easier said than done. So Power of the Subconscious Mind, Conversations with God. And my last and my favorite, which I'm sure you guys have heard like 10 times over, is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Oh, big one.
I know.
Classic.
Everyone's and it's such a cliche because I know like everyone, no, not everyone, but a lot of people that are into this work recommend this book. But this book is just, I think it goes in tandem with the Power of the Subconscious Mind. I really truly believe that the way you think and the way you structure your mentality, the people that you're around, even if that's your friends and family, because our friends and family, they just want to love us and they want to keep us safe and they don't want us to get hurt.
Yeah.
But who you keep around you in reference to mentors, who's motivating you, who do you look up to, who would you see yourself emulating in 5 to 10 years, that really keeps us strong. And what goes on in here keeps us even stronger. So those are my 3 top books.
So
Awesome.
So I just want to say something.
Yeah.
Who else on this panel like me is just
Mesmerized.
This nigga like,
I think we all are.
Yeah,
We got it just like down. Yeah.
all right? Okay.
Yeah.
Was the popcorn?
Listen, and keep in mind, I have some virtual contracts now. We'll speak about that later. But I haven't had like a great interactive conversation besides with my actual clients for some time. So this is a lot of fun for me. I love to talk. So we can be here all night, gentlemen.
But allow me to say this. I mean, like I said, I've sat here and I've listened to your wonderful story thus far, and everything that we said in the introduction in terms of the hard working, the perseverance, the never letting go, the always being able to reinvent yourself and making sure that you said it yourself. You're sick of being sick. Sick and tired of being sick,
Being sick and tired.
Yeah. So I mean, you hear it constantly, and you can listen. We hear it, and we keep growing, right? So again, just for our audience, right? Just if there's anything you could take from this particular session is stick to one thing, and stick.
No. Wait. Don't stick to one thing.
Well,
I don't want to drive that point home. No, not sticking to one thing. I think
I was just gonna say stick to one thing and make sure you see it through. That's what I was gonna say.
Yes.
Don't start something and just
Stick to it. Make sure you see your vision through, and you kind of give yourself the room, the leg, the faith.
Man, I felt like I was in class right there. I was like, okay, I'm so sorry. Can I just finish my...
Don't try. Well, because I say don't try one thing because
I got you.
My experience, I've had a lot of different opportunities in life. Like I was a marketing coordinator for the French government when I was in my 20s, and I went all through Europe. I went all through France, and it was a great opportunity. I was on the marketing department for the French government. Great experience. I remember when I had that interview, I was underqualified for that job, right? So I remember sitting there in front of the hiring director. And I'm a big believer in say yes, because damn it, you will figure it out, okay? Say yes, because if you don't say yes, you're not really believing in yourself. Say yes, because you will figure it out. We are more intelligent than sometimes we hold our hat on. So I remember sitting in front of that gentleman and he was asking me, can you do this? Can you do that? I was like, oh yeah, of course. Oh, I could do that. Oh, you would love me doing that. And I got home and I thought, I got home and I prayed because I remember telling myself, I know I'm semi underqualified for this opportunity. I had just finished school and they were looking for someone with a bit more experience, but I prayed and I said, if they hire me, I will work twice as hard. And I remember praying and saying, if it's meant to be, it will be mine.
There you go.
And 2 days later, they called without a second interview and they gave me the opportunity.
Awesome.
That's where the faith comes in.
Wow.
That's awesome. Elizabeth, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Stick to Liz.
Might as well, right? At this point, it's that comfort I have. I'm mesmerized, like Brother Ray was saying. I could listen to you all night. But let me ask you, along the line of mentors, and who is your biggest mentor? Who do you look up to, or who you listen to?
Great question. Yeah, so I have some people, in my industry, of course, that I look up to. I remember I contract for a much larger organization. They're an organization just like me, but a multi-billion-dollar industry. Well, multi-million-dollar company at this point. But the name of the company is called GPJ, George P. Johnson, and they do large international events on a domestic and international scale for very, popular Fortune 500 companies. So I remember when I first received the contract for GPJ, that was actually the first year that I went off on my own in 2016. And the woman that I was working for at the time, her name is Diana. I won't say her last name, but she was just such a powerhouse in what in this event planning industry. And I remember working under her for 1 year and just being so impressed. Like, she was just so powerful in her decision making and how respected she was in our industry. And it was just really impressive. And so I tend to, some people, depending on your personality, we can be shy, we can be bashful. But when I really respect someone, I tend to lean in, right? So some people kind of feel intimidated, I lean in. So I remember that year I was really shadowing her without kind of her knowing, because I'm there to work. I'm not there for her to mentor me. I'm there for me to help her. But I remember kind of, of course, working, but kind of shadowing her and realizing kind of how she did things and how she, moved in our industry. And 4 years later, we're still working together. And about a year after they hired me for the first contract, they gave me a much larger responsibility under her team. So then I was no longer just a part of the organization. Diana hired me directly and said, I want you to come with me. And then I was very clear in telling her, but by the way, you've done so much for me. It's an honor to work for you and with you, because I've been shadowing you for the last couple of years without you knowing. And so she really took me in and mentored me. On the acting side, I would say there's so many people that, I would say, wow, I would love that career and I would love those opportunities. But I think my greatest mentors have been the people that really believe in me, right? So I have a small group of folks that I can count on my hand, but they've been instrumental in helping me believe in myself, and B, when I don't believe in myself, they hold my hand and they give us faith. They give me faith for the both of us. One person is my acting manager, so he's the one that enrolls me into getting all these great auditions. And at the stage that I am in my acting career, you have to audition. That's the name of the game. And it's quite the game. So my manager is definitely a mentor. As I mentioned before, I do a lot of metaphysical work. And what I mean by that is metaphysics in reference to keeping my mind right? So in layman's terms, you got to keep your head right.
That's right.
So I do a lot of work on, how I'm constantly thinking, if I'm taking risks in life, if I'm playing small, like what does that look like? Who can you have that conversation with if you're with people that are all playing at the same level? And there's nothing wrong with playing at any level. But if you're up to big things, you need to have conversations with people that kind of know how to guide and steer you towards that direction. So years ago, I joined a course of study. I won't mention the course of study because of marketing purposes. Sure. But if you would like to know, if the audience would like to know what this course of study is, I'll be more than happy to give you guys that information. But I joined a course of study that really keeps you on your toes. It's kind of like a Tony Robbins thing, right? We all know Tony Robbins. I don't think that's secret to anyone. But Tony Robbins, right, keeps people on your toes. He not only deals with people like you and I, right? I would say for now, the common man. He also trains Fortune 500 CEOs and directors and basketball players and athletes and actors. And
so if I may, Elizabeth, so one of the things I want to make sure, like, I know you're mentioning, key resources and things of that nature. So we'll make sure that we'll put that into the comments so that our audience can have access to it. Right. So, but what I'm trying to, so I'd like to summarize this particular topic, and what you're saying is that having a mentor is extremely important, not just for understanding and how to navigate the particular field that you're, but also to help you grow and constantly give you some real advice and real feedback. Right. Do this and don't do that. Right?
Yeah, for sure. So let me tie it in. So I have a couple mentors. So I decided to establish some mentorship in my life years ago, even when I started my business, because I didn't know the level I was playing in. What does that mean? I didn't know how to measure my success. And of course I can do that internally, and I can, tell myself, you were here last year and now you're here. But there's a bigger game to life I want to play. So I enrolled some people into playing the game with me, people that I really respect, that I really honor, so they can measure, so we can both measure my success and see if I'm getting to where I want to go. Pretty much.
Okay. So listen, guys, I'm
Thank you.
telling you that,
Powerful.
make sure that you listen to this particular episode, because there's a wealth of information being provided here by Elizabeth. But I like to keep it going because I know there's other brothers that are just waiting to ask and dig into more of your career. So let me throw it over to our brother Eddie with a set of questions. So Eddie, please go ahead and ask your question, please.
Thank you, Ray. As I sit here, you can keep on talking, Elizabeth, because everything you're saying, it's either affirming something in my life, or I know the audience right now are feeling like, wow. And the same way maybe you have a mentor in your life, you can mentor other people as well with all the knowledge and all the, everything that you've learned throughout the journey that you've had, your journey, and it continues. And I know we've mentioned some book talk, so we're looking forward to that book that you're going to come out with in time. And I know these are all pages and chapters to write about. I appreciate your transparency as well. You speak from the heart, and you speak to people. The question that I want to ask you is really, and I guess I'm representing for the parents out there, the mentors out there, the educators out there who have or any organization that has any type of influence to our younger people. Of course, experiences, there's nothing like it, because through experience, you learn on your own.
Yeah.
But I guess the question that I want to ask you, to help educators and parents and mentors and, on how to I guess, shape success in the minds of younger people is, what advice would you give younger people? And I'm going to say particularly young girls, because you are a true example of what it is to be very successful, regardless of gender issues or whatever. Maybe not that you haven't had any or anything like that. We haven't really got into that. But what advice or strategies, or what would you say we can push now at an earlier age in our younger people?
Well, I think especially for young ladies, I think confidence is a big deal, right? I think, the making sure that, our young ladies are confident, making sure that, of course, that we implement some type of mentorship for our young ladies. But I guess what I would say is to young ladies is, take risks, right? Because that's really important. But I guess what was important for me growing up was I tried my hand at a lot of things. I mentioned that previously. But it was rare that I would say no to an opportunity because I didn't know where that opportunity would lie, right? So, of course, I recommend, continuing education and finishing your education and all that good stuff. But, sometimes in the course of life, it takes you via many winding roads. So I would say take risk. Even if you think you're not well versed in it, in this day and age, YouTube, and there's just such a wealth of information out there that if you don't know how to do it or you're trying to figure it out, the internet is like just such an amazing resource. I myself, since this COVID thing happened, I pay for YouTube because I'm an avid YouTube subscriber. I love YouTube. And not only, for the fun content, I like YouTube because of the informational content.
Oh, yeah.
Like in this day and age, literally anything that you're interested in, you can find a way to get yourself involved in it or to get yourself a mentor that can teach you more about it. So I would say for young ladies and for young men alike, have faith in yourself. That's very important. Have confidence. And, we don't always grow up with that faith and confidence. School isn't the easiest place for all of us. Sometimes
That's right.
things can be landmines. So, if you can't find it amongst your actual peer group, I would say reach out to a family member you feel safe with. Reach out to someone, social media. A lot of our kids they live on social media. So someone that aligns with your goals, right? I'm not speaking about reaching out to someone randomly, but if you find someone in social media or in YouTube, and they really align with your goals, they align with, what your passions are, it never hurts to take a chance and reach out to that person. Usually, especially as we get older, we want to pay it back. So we want to pay it forward and say, oh, I have so many great ideas. This is how you do it. This is how you try. You got to do this. Even if you don't get that amongst your peer group, reach out to people that you trust, people that you feel safe with. Reach out to, people that you admire on social media, that you respect on social media, and ask for a handout, or not a handout. Ask for how you can help them.
Got it.
Turn how they can help you, right? 'Cause it's always good to offer something when you're asking for something. But you know, when you're in our youthful stages, it's a lot easier because, you know, we do want to, and when I say we, a lot of us successful adults want to pay it back and want to teach the younger generation how it can be done. You know, they have a very different process and how they do it now compared to how we did it. But the hustle is the same and the hard work is the same. And you have to have a strong work ethic. I don't believe that's ever going to change.
No, thank you for that. You know, one thing that I notice about, you know, when you speak is I almost created a model in my, a motto in my mind for you. You seek, you learn, you own, you move on to next. And it's something like, it seems like you do that with everything that you, and you never stay down and you believe in everything you do. You never think it's going down, but it's going to go up. There's a way to do it. You said it yourself, say yes, because you're going to figure out a way.
And I totally agree with you, but I have to admit, like I love to be as transparent as possible, but you know, it's exciting and I do a lot of things. I keep myself really busy, but I have had my moments that I'm down. So I don't want anyone watching to think that, you know, even you know, high achieving type A's don't get down. I've had a lot of failure in my life that's helped me succeed.
Learn. Right. That's
areas, right? You have to fail so you can accomplish something big. I think it goes hand in hand.
That's right.
If you're looking to achieve something big, chances are you're gonna fail pretty big. Like I've said many times over. So I want to make sure that I push the idea forward that amongst all my achievements, there's been a lot of failures, there's been a lot of disappointments. I've crashed and burned, but what I haven't done is I haven't stayed down for too long. You know, I'll take
it goes back to,
I'll push back too. I'll take a couple days out, but I get right back up and I wipe my face off and I wipe off the tears and I say, let's try this again. No matter, you know, yeah.
It goes back to the two virtues that we talked about in the beginning. Sorry, Eddie. Right?
No, please.
Perseverance and hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yep. So
I mean,
never ever giving up. Right? Sorry.
Yeah, and I think
confidence.
Confidence and I think failing is a healthy process that people go through.
Yeah.
Now, if you get stuck in a certain part of that process, then that can be a little bit detrimental to your success, of course. Yeah. But there's a process your mind goes through, you know.
Sure.
But thank you for that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you because I have.
No, go for it. We want to hear. This is all about. Hey, Elizabeth, this is all about you. I'm gonna stop. You go ahead. Just keep talking. You know, I know the audience is loving every bit of it.
Thank you very much. I'm at a certain age in my life right now, so I guess with my failures and my successes, confidence comes a bit easier now that I'm in my 40s, right? So now I'm a lot more confident. I want to make a point to say, as we're, you know, for our younger generation or for some of the folks that we might be able to mentor, that confidence sometimes isn't all the way there because they haven't had life experience, right? It's kind of odd to think I can do it when you haven't done, you've done some, but there's a lot you haven't experienced. So, you know, that's when I really want to push forth the agenda to reach out to people that you really respect and that you really admire and that you're passionate about and that you see maybe how your ideals can align with theirs. And, you know, those people might be able to give you that type of confidence that they can show you they can show you a vision that you are creating for yourself if you can't see it all the way right now.
And in addition to that, Elizabeth, right? So we also kind of mentioned that there's also some professional organizations that also can cater to helping you achieve some of these goals, which, you know, I know you can name some, but at the end of the day, we'll also put that information in our description down below.
One that I'm really passionate about is Girls Who Code. So it's girlswhocode.com. It's a really popular organization. They've been around for a while. There are a lot of similar organizations to Girls That Code, right? But Girls That Code is really cool. It's like literally teaching girls and closing the gender gap in technology and getting more girls involved in the IT world, right? And
very important.
You know, in this new place that a lot of us find ourselves, there's been a lot of people that have lost jobs. Others of us, we haven't lost jobs, but we've had to reinvent ourselves. But for girls, for women, for stay-at-home moms, because there's a lot of moms that now, you know, I don't know if your kid is going to school or not going to school. It's just like we are literally reinventing our lives as we know it on a day-to-day basis. Girls That Code is such a cool organization because it's really teaching girls how to code and get into the IT space. For working moms, it's really ideal because you can most likely work from home. Technology opportunities are really plentiful, if that makes sense. So there's some great careers and great opportunities in the technology space, especially the fact that in this day and age, the industrial age is pretty much gone. I think we can all agree that the industrial age is pretty much out the window, and now we're focusing on the technological age that we're all living on. I mean, we've been having this meeting instead of having it in person and in front of a studio
True indeed.
audience.
It's unbelievable.
That's right.
Right. So I think just since we're all kind of trying to figure out what's next for us, even if that still means working from home, a lot of organizations are going to require more from their employees. And what I mean by more is that even if you don't want to, change with the times, you're going to have to, because the world is changing as we know it. So anyway, Girls Who Code is really cool. It's cool for young ladies. It's cool for working moms. If you're looking for like a career change or just to try something new, in the technological space, it's really cool because you can invite yourself to an industry that you don't know much about, and you can learn, and you never know where they take you.
So
right.
I know that this brother, sorry, Eddie, I know that this brother has been patiently waiting.
I have one more question. Just one more question.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a
No, go ahead. Eddie.
So I do want to say that this episode is gold. When we sit down, I want to sit down with my daughter because everything you're saying can either strike a conversation with me and her, or probably instill something in her that will help her see what can possibly in the future, as far as for success and all the hard work that goes with it. I think hard work is key, and people want quick results, but that's not likely to happen unless you put the time in, Elizabeth, you mentioned, balance, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned how to balance things. And yeah, when you're putting hard work into something that you're doing for the first time, sometimes there's an imbalance. My question to you is, how do you balance your career and a healthy and positive social lifestyle?
Well, I don't know if
How
I
does
have a
that-
healthy balance, right? So I've noticed, especially this year, because I've had to systematically kind of go into different avenues in my industry. A lot of the events that I was doing on a physical aspect are now virtual events. So I've had to pivot. So I would say for me, I'm not the greatest person at balancing social life and personal life. I feel like, especially when you own a business, right? When you own a business,
Right.
You really don't unplug. So what I like to do is I like to say that I have a well-rounded life of career, social bit, but it's all encompassing. And an example of that is like on a weekend when I'm hanging out with my friends, I will answer an email. I will take a phone call. And I think if I don't, because that's my personality, I feel uncomfortable. Like you don't want me in a social setting thinking my client's waiting for me and I'm going to drink with you. Let me have my drink and let me go answer the client. So I guess, what I really learned is that when you have a lot of things going on in life, like we all do, it's hard to balance all to 100. Right. So like when I'm really doing good in my career and my business is going great, I'm not as focused on my dieting and my fitness schedule. Right. So, it's hard to live life focusing on every aspect being at 100. So I would say I like to focus on what I'm most passionate about. I'm really passionate about my friends and family, right? The people that I love.
Right.
I don't have a huge, encompassing group of people, but I have, a small family that I love very much. And I have my friends that I consider like family. So, I try my hardest to give my friends and family as much time as I can. Sometimes I do fall short of that. I've heard that. So that I'm just guilty of that. And that's something that I work on. And then besides that, I would say I'm really passionate about working, right? I'm kind of a success achiever. So I'm kind of type A. Not everyone is like that, right? And that's fine, right? Not everyone always wants to do something more. And I respect.
You enjoy what you do.
I enjoy what I do. So
that's your happiness, right?
Yeah, I enjoy what I do. So I kind of don't want to unplug. It depends when you are in an opportunity that you don't like, you know, the first thing you want to do is unplug. The first thing you want to do is
That's
say,
so
"Leave me
true.
alone.
That's right.
I don't want to deal with it for like 4 days." I never want to do that because I really love what I do. So I guess, you know, the healthy balance that you are asking me, it's very individualized. It depends on what you're passionate about. Give whatever you love as much attention as you possibly can. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you for that.
Nice, nice.
That was a great answer. So now to the man of the hour, my man Charlie T. I know you've been sitting there. Yeah. So so Charlie, why don't you go ahead and ask these questions, and then what we can do after that is kind of wrap it up. But again, just go ahead.
Yeah, well, this next question I have for you, Elizabeth, man, it's like all your answers that you've like just kind of thrown at us, and it kind of led up, and you kind of hit points on just as on everything. So I'm just gonna dive right into it. Who do you keep close to you, and who do you stay far away from? So because I'm a true believer in who do you have around you?
Yeah.
Just true judgment, period. Because if you don't have good judgment, then your focus is all out of whack, right? So
Charlie, Charlie, that's an amazing question. That's an amazing question, and that's a question throughout my life that I've had to deal with many times over. So of course we've already mentioned I have my mentors, right? But you know, not your mentors aren't always the people that you share those deep, intimate stories with, right? They're
But they can be though, right? They can be at some point.
Of course, no, they can.
You gotta have different types of mentors, yeah.
They can be, but the way that I kind of figure it out is, you know, we're all aligned towards a different goal, right? So my mentors, of course, they love me and I love them, but we have a goal in mind, right? So that's kind of what we focus on and we work towards. So Charlie, great question. Throughout my life, I've had to kind of clean up my environment many times over. And what I mean by that is that, you know, let's first take friends and family. They're amazing, right? So we can never like really clean, well, with family, you can't clean it up because they're always going to be there, right? You don't get to choose who you're born, whose family you're born into by the grace of God. So you don't get to choose that. So with family, I've realized that sometimes keeping things close to your heart but quiet works. Yes. And what I mean by that is that, you know, you might have an idea, and when you're still trying to figure it out, sharing it might not always be the best idea because you're not even sure on it, right? Yep. Because when we share what we're not clear on, we have all these other opinions and stories that even if we don't want them to, they affect us, right? Because we hear a story and we make it ours, even though it might never happen to you and you've never been through that experience. You're like, oh, but that really could happen and that could happen. And what our family and some friends do is that they try to keep you safe. And, you know, as human beings, we're not set up to take risk and take chances. We're set up to survive, stay safe, fly under the radar, you know, but don't put your neck out there because it can get chopped off. So I would say until you're clear on kind of what you have going on, keep it quiet, keep it to yourself, keep it between you and whatever you believe in, right? Be it whatever religious
totally agree
structure you use to cope, or whatever method, either be it praying or meditation, but whatever you use on a metaphysical level or on a spiritual level, kind of keep that private into yourself until you can really sell it to someone. And listen, and Charlie, let me be clear, even when you sell it, they still won't buy sometimes. Right. So even when you sell it, the people that love you most still won't buy. And that's when you really have to, you know, I think the closest relationship you'll ever have with anyone is yourself. And this is something that
I totally agree. And this is my answer to that is, man, if you can't sell it to yourself, you shouldn't present it to anybody else.
Pretty much. So Charlie, you're reading my mind right now. And I think one of the most fundamental relationships we have is with ourselves. And I think sometimes we speak to ourselves in such a negative way. Like I remember I've heard myself speaking to myself the way I would never speak to anyone else. I would tell someone, oh, it's okay, it's going to be okay, you're going to make it. Just give someone positive words of affirmation. Definitely. But when we speak to ourselves with that negative self-talk about, oh, you should know better, you shouldn't have done that, stuff, that hinders you, right? So I guess when it comes to the circle you keep, be kind to yourself. Be nice to you first and foremost. Remember that.
I agree.
I would say speak to yourself like if you were speaking to a friend. Speak to yourself like if you were speaking to a family member. Don't stay too safe, but treat yourself nicely.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you have to pat yourself on the back to according to where you've been and where you're going. So that's the first part. The second part is keep it quiet. You just said it. Unless you can pitch it and you can explain it, you shouldn't be saying it.
Totally agree.
It's not cemented in your mind. And then we can get into this whole universal energy, but we're not gonna go there. And then I would say the third would be, you know, I consider myself a very social person, and I meet a lot of people, you know, in my traveling for the event planning, in the acting world, just outside in my neighborhood. I know a ton of neighbors, and I'm always like talking. I love people for the most part, and as you can see, I love to talk. Not really, but really. So I would, you know, throughout the years, I've had to I want to make this sound good, but maybe I don't have to make it sound good, right? Because I want to be transparent. I've had to eliminate a lot of people from my life, and what I mean by that is that, you know, it's sad sometimes because we want to grow together. Like the majority of us, when we love each other and you have friends in your life, we all want to grow together. We want to be great together. We want to achieve things together, but not everyone moves at the same pace. And unfortunately, when you are focused on A and you have a goal over here, if that goal doesn't align with what the group goal is over here, it's hard. It's really, really hard. Like I've been in some groups, you know, of friends that I admire, that I love very much. But you know, when I speak about kind of what I have going on and I'm really passionate about this business and let's do this and how about this, I've gotten stares like, just have a good time. Like just let it go. It's not that they don't, you know, they don't see the vision, and that's fine. They don't have to see the vision, but when I feel like when we're dealing with groups, when your vision doesn't align with the group's vision, you're kind of the odd man out. And then maybe sometimes you might think that there's something wrong with your idea or your vision, and that is not the case. The case is that you need to find a group, you need to find peers, you need to find a tribe where you align with them. You know, what you believe in, they believe in. And even if you do believe in two different things, the common goal is what you're passionate about. And I've always been passionate about achieving my next step, achieving my next goals, making sure that my friends and family are living the best of themselves, right? So when someone needs advice on a business or like what they got going on, I just missed a phone call at 4 o'clock. My friend called me and said, I used to make this seasoning with my grandmother. I'm thinking of making it on a larger scale, on manufacturing seasonings. Let's talk. And I'm like, well, I don't know anything about seasonings, but let's talk.
Let's talk.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
Right, but it was such an honor because I feel very honored that when people, I don't push it as much as I used to because it gets old. Unless you want to hear it, I shouldn't be I shouldn't be preaching it because it's me. This is what makes me tick. But I feel really honored when my friends and family, because they love me so much and they know who I am, right? So I'm no longer shy. I used to be like that, but I'm no longer shy about who I am. So they come to me and say, hey, I have this idea. What do you think? And I might not know anything about it, but since I'm well-rounded in many other industries, I can say, well, go over here. This is an idea. And I feel great when I know that she's doing something like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going to start seasoning. That's amazing. You guys are starting a show. That's amazing. It makes me that much more excited. Like people do this. Like this is what we do. We start things. We have ideas. We have goals.
Wow.
No regrets.
Wow.
No regrets.
That's right. That's right.
And that's all part of going back to what I said. Good judgment.
Yeah. But Charlie, that's such a great question. You have to make sure. I like to say with your friends, you got to know when to go.
Yes.
You got to know when to go. You got to know when to stay.
When to let it go.
I have friends that I can count on my hands that some of them are your wives. But I have friends that I can count on my hands that are instrumental in my life, and I love them very much. And then I have other friends, you know, that I can say I've had to let some go, and I say that in a very positive way. We still talk, we still hang out from time to time, but the consistency, I have to align myself with what makes sense. You know.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there are friends that you have. There are 20-minute friends. My neighbor is a 5-minute. Hey, how's everything? Good. How's the weather? 5 minutes. I have a friend that I can sit down with for an hour and just chop it up. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. But you got to, like you said, you have to figure out where they fall in your spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So
all right,
guys,
Elizabeth. Yeah.
guys,
I know
I don't know how you guys feel about this, but all this time it's just been amazing.
I could do
It's
this all
amazing
night.
to just listen, listen to a person that is real, as we would say nowadays. You're hearing all of the things that she's applied to get to where she is, right? Through situations like at the pandemic, where she basically had to change her entire business model and adapt, right? And again, applying one of the virtues that we've been talking about all this time, which is hardworking and never give up, right?
Right.
On top of that, her continuous search of improving herself, understanding the power of mentorship and understanding what failure does and what it can do to continuously improve. On top of that, giving back to the community in terms of mentorship, which I know you can do. You've shown this in this conversation, and again, just being very, very real and open and transparent. I think this was a great conversation. I know there's a lot of resources that we're going to be able to provide to our audience. I just want to wrap up the show again and thank you for you to come on our show and blessing us with all this knowledge
Thank you.
and information. And hopefully in the near future, we're going to have another show where we could talk more and digging into your next chapter in life, which is going to be something bigger. Again, I just want to summarize. This is a very successful entrepreneur, at the same time a successful and up and coming actor in her field, actress in her field. So Elizabeth, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
So
Yeah.
much.
And I also mentioned, I think everyone should just sit down. I think human beings should just sit down and kind of do a synopsis of like the last 3 years of your life. Because even having this conversation with you guys, you don't realize sometimes you just kind of toil through and you work and you work and you work and you hustle and you work and you don't realize
All the things that you've done. Yep.
Especially the individual.
Yeah, that's right.
I feel like everyone should sit down maybe after watching this show for 5 minutes and just go through the last 3 years of your life, your accomplishments, what you've done, and then pat yourself on the back, because unfortunately everyone won't have the opportunity to have you guys interview them.
Well,
You can realize your own accomplishments. And that's
for this session a little bit, we'll do a virtual pat on your back for everything that you've done so
Yes,
far.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's been such an
Big
honor.
round of applause. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
And by
for
the way,
sharing.
and this is where the book comes in.
Yeah.
The book deal.
Yes, the book. Well, I've done some mentorship with some of the folks I've met in convention centers on a very small scale. But yes, ideally, my goal would be to start my own nonprofit for young women in order to introduce them to more women
Absolutely.
like me that are on much higher levels of life, to peer mentor them with someone that can show them what's possible for them. So that would be a goal. So wish me luck.
Elizabeth, awesome.
We're looking
Elizabeth,
forward
real
to
quick, I know we're almost out of time, but so we are an international podcast show. So if you were to give a message to the Hispanic community worldwide, right? Because I think you're somewhat fluent in Spanish.
I am. Sí, hablo español.
Okay. So what can you tell the folks out there, please?
Hey, what would I tell the Hispanic community? I mean, I guess I would say the same thing. Todo mundo tienes que trabajar muy duro, tenga mucha fe, y what else would I say? I don't know. You know what? It's different. You know, like
Put you on the spot.
all my ideas change once I get into the Hispanic mind. I'm like, habla mucho. I would
Si
say,
yo puedo, tú puedes.
yes, I would say that's actually perfect. Si yo puedo, tú puedes. So, por favor, tenga mucha fe y nunca paran de pensar en usted mismo.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
All right, thank you guys. This was so much fun. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You're welcome.
And
You're welcome.
enjoy.
Awesome.
Best of
It is
luck with the podcast show. You guys are going to be successful. I feel it.
Thank
United.
you.
Thank you.
United Podcast Show.
United Podcast Show. And remember, thank you to our viewers. Remember to hit the subscribe button, and man, we look forward to this show coming out and
In the
next
comments.
time, in the comments.
And I'm now subscribed also via YouTube. So I'll
Yeah,
be
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
my
you.
brothers, and
Thank you.
so
Thank you,
much.
Elizabeth.
United Podcast Show.
See you on the next one, fellas.
Yes, sir.